What's up, guys? My name is Miles.
And my name is Fez.
And this is The Commodity. And today we're reacting to what is AFL, Australian Rules, Football Explained, Updated 2020. We did a reaction on AFL biggest hits or something.
Yeah, biggest touches and stuff. You know, it's like the big hits.
Right.
Kind of for the season.
So we're super unfamiliar with the sport. We know nothing about it.
I've learned a couple things through the comments. Things like if you hit it between the two middle uprights, it counts as 6 points.
Okay.
If it goes between the outer uprights, it counts as 1. I forgot what they call that. It's like a backup or something like that. So it only counts as 1.
And then you have to bounce the ball
every 15 meters. You can't throw it forward. You'll be penalized. If you hit the ground, if you fall to the ground, you got to give up the ball. I'm sure I'm just being vague about it because I'm just trying to remember what the comments said. But I appreciate the love because nobody was a jerk.
Yeah.
Like they were all like super informative. The amount of like stupidity coming from us, it'd be really easy to be a dick about it, to be fair.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, yeah, like they've watched American football and they're like, I don't get what it is either. So they kind of understand.
Right.
And to be fair, I get where you're coming from. When I was a kid trying to watch football with my dad, American football, you're just like,
what is that?
What? And the other comment was like, it should be called throwing or throwy or something like that.
Throw a ball.
And so just fun fact. So American football started in college in the mid to early 1800s, which I didn't know that until I researched it because I was like, how old is American football?
Right.
It's really old. It just started at college level. And the reason why we call the British soccer or football soccer is the Brits actually titled it soccer. It stands for the Association of Football. Which I learned that a while back. Because a lot of people were like, why do y'all call it soccer? And I was like, it's a good question. I looked it up a long time ago. And it stands for Association of Football. And it's because we already had something that we called football from even before the British titled it football.
Right.
So that's kind of like, in fact, I think American football was called something even before that. And it had like no rules, and it was just like people hitting each other. Like it was really stupid. It was like, I'm amazed people survived.
Yeah.
And and technically the sport was supposed to get completely canceled. Like they were about to like make it illegal until they introduced pads and stuff like that because people were dying on the field. But I saw this, and when we started watching it, and when I came off stupid about, that's just rugby. And obviously I've been corrected, and I'm happy to be wrong because now I've seen this, and being an American football fan, it is very different, but it's a fast-paced,
something enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, 100%, and I agree. So, however, it is very confusing from the outside looking in and trying to learn something. You're just like, the world are they doing? So
let's hop in. Check this out.
Let's learn about this sport.
A game in which players soar like eagles.
Like, look at these scores. I love that.
Dang.
I love high scoring
games. A player
games.
can run between 12 and 20 kilometers a game. A game that's fast paced and brutal.
Looks
a game
super
that says
painful.
the meek
Yeah,
may
it
inherit
does.
the earth, but they will never win games of football. This is AFL. For me, this is the greatest sport in the world. So let's look at the greatest competition of them all, the AFL. You would allude to it as the Australian version of the English Premier League, the NBA, the NFL. It's the most watched competition by far in Australia, and it's the fourth most attended sport in the world.
Wow.
The AFL itself is contested by 18 sides.
I feel like you have to be really talented to bounce that ball.
I agree. Ooh, I want to see this.
Rivalry.
So one thing that I do hate about the NFL is their logos are so old. Like they need to update that stuff. And like this one's really cool. I really like that. I think this one actually
kind of looks like the Ravens.
Melbourne. or Melbourne. I don't shoot us. Sydney, the Hawks, Giants, Suns, Cats. How do you pronounce this? Geelong?
Or Geelong.
Geelong, maybe. And apparently the team that had all the stripes, the black and white, they are Aborigines. So like that whole entire, I don't know if it's accurate, but it was said that the whole entire team are Aborigines.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool. So let's go.
The game itself is played between 18 players on the field of play at any one time, with an interchange bench of 4 players that can be switched over 90 times. They play over 4 20-minute quarters with time added on, and all the players line up in a certain formation. So to go through it,
that seems like a bad day.
Line,
getting kicked in the face on accident.
Pockets and a full forward. These
okay,
guys genuinely there are comprised of.
I want to hear
so
this.
to go through it, you've got your full forward line that are comprised of 2 forward pockets and a full forward. These guys genuinely there to attack the goal and trap the ball in the goal area. You may hear the terms pressure forwards. You may hear the terms crumbs if you watch the game. These guys are your strikers of the league, in your to use a soccer analogy. Then you've got your half forwards. These guys are there.
So do y'all call British football soccer as well? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so these 3, what I understand, are trying to score on this side. Because the way he was saying, they were like the kickers basically. So because the way I look at it, because they're facing this way, I would guess that they're actually trying to defend.
Yeah.
Is the way it looks. So I think it's just kind of how they have it represented. So
there to set up scoring shots.
Well, I don't know, because this side looks more of a defense side anyway, because they have more people facing that way. Like, they've got more people in the front facing that way, so it looks like they're going that way.
Right. So they might just be facing where the ball is supposed to be at the time.
Yeah.
So
the goal as well, and are also
let's go back one more.
These in your to use a soccer analogy. Then you've got your half forwards. These guys are there to set up scoring shots, to attack the goal as well, and are also charged with forward pressure and locking the ball in that area. And they would be very similar, I would say, to an attacking winger in the soccer. Kind of, like your Cristiano Ronaldo when he was a United player, very adventurous, marauding forward type player. Then you have your centre line players. Now these guys are the ones who recover the ball from the back line, look to set up shots, get the ball forward. They predominantly run 2 ways. They're made up as well with the 2 guys on the outside there, your wingers. They're kind of very...
Okay, so there's 18 players on each side on the field, correct? This is 18 total on the field right now. And they said there's 18 on each side total?
No, I think they're saying that it's total of 8. We'll find out as they go, because it kind of would make sense that they have 8 on each side.
But it would also make sense that if each team has 18 players on the field, which seems like a whole lot, but you've got full coverage.
Could be. I don't know. And apparently the field is gigantic.
Yeah.
Rehearsed in defensive and forward, kind of like a wing back would probably be the best way to describe them. They're not quite an attacking winger because they do a lot more defensive jobs in the modern day AFL, but they're probably the most important part of the game. Then you've got your half back line. Now they're to recover the ball from the back line and to clear the ball to midfield and to the forward line. These guys genuinely very quick, the smaller players on the flanks, the half-back flanks, and you have a term you hear a lot, key defenders and key forwards. These usually the players that are in the centre of the half-back
so these
line
are the defense.
and the centre of the full-back line, who again, their job is to be a defender, to really lock down, get the ball out of the defensive 50, and to spoil all marks. And you can see that here, this is the format you can kind of evenly spread. And then you've got these interesting ones here, they're called followers. Now this is quite confusing for someone new to the game, but they're comprised of a ruckman and 2 on-ballers. So a traditional name is the ruck rover and the rover. So generally these guys you'll see at the stoppages. So when the game gets stopped at centre bounds particularly, you'll see these guys around the centre, usually comprising of 1 really tall guy and 2 smaller players. And these guys are genuinely there to get the ball out of congestion. They're real tough. They go in and get the ball. These guys usually genuinely are the strong, hard men of the competition. and really the exciting players to watch. They play on a ground that dwarfs a standard soccer field in really all the known fields.
Look at that.
That they play.
Hold on, I want to go through that one more time.
They play on a ground.
Okay, so
that dwarfs.
So that's a NFL sized field. That is crazy.
A standard soccer field in really all the known fields.
Well, baseball is kind of a misnomer there.
The American ones, like
it's
we
just
say,
the diamond.
they cover up to 20 kilometers per game. The average midfielder does in the AFL, and the game premise is to move the ball from one end to the other. And there is 3 predominant ways to do that. One is the handball, where the player uses their fist to project the ball to teammates.
Yeah. So just in this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players on the field, and these are different teams, or different teams, and there was people behind them
and people in front of them, and on this side. And then they also said in the comments that the referees stay kind of out of the way around the stadium because it's a circular.
Unusual style. You may see something similar in Gaelic football if you are akin to watching that, but it is very predominantly to the AFL. The other more obvious method is the kick, and that's where they can gain up to 50 metres at a time, aiming to try and hit a player up to get a mark, or they do kick to space and allow players to run on. And the final way to move, and it's something that you see a lot more in modern day AFL, very similar to the basketball, they have to run with the ball at hand, but must bounce it once every 15 metres. There isn't a limit to how much they could do that. You could run one end to the ground to the other if you do that. Very rare though, because the game doesn't allow much space. And when we're kicking, we're looking for these marks. Now, it's one of the most spectacular aspects of the AFL. And it's something that you don't see really in any other sport as exciting as this. And it's a game that allows you to use the opposition as a step ladder. The ball must travel 15 metres without anyone touching it prior to the player marking the ball.
So in the NFL, they used to allow that, but they got rid of that because it was dangerous. Right. So, of course, they used to, but it was actually on your own teammate.
Well, they
got rid of that.
They also make you wear helmets now too.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, they don't care.
And it can't hit the ground. And if you do that successfully, we call it a paid mark. And that's where a player gets effectively a free kick from wherever he is on the ground with a 10-metre protection area to play his next kick. Perhaps the most common mark you'll see, and the biggest aim, is to mark inside 50. Now, you'll notice on the field as it comes up now, there's these little red lines indicating where the 50 are, these semicircular arcs. If a player successfully takes a mark inside 50, they get 30 seconds to attempt to score a goal, and the object of the goal is to kick through the 2 middle posts. If you do that, you'll get 6 points. If you hit the post, or you get it through the other posts, or a player takes it of the opposition and runs it through the behind,
that sucks.
Runs it through the goal. There's no own goals in this game. It's a single point, resulting in the opposition getting the ball, and there will be a restart from that goal square there in the defensive 50. The game start is a really, I think, iconic part of AFL, and it's something that really attracted me, and it's called the centre bounce, and this happens at the start of each quarter and after every goal, and it is very similar to an NBA tip-off. It's contested between 2 ruckmen who will then attempt to jostle position with each other while jumping for a ball in the air and attempt to tap it down to their rovers or a tapper to punch it ball forward and get it away from the congestion. And perhaps the most entertaining part for any foreigner is how we have our restarts in the game. You'll notice that when the ball goes out the sidelines, we have a throw-in, and you'll see how the umpires throw it in. They get a lot of distance.
Oh, so the umpires throw it in.
A mini version of the bounce between the 2 ruckmen, and it's really, for all intents and purposes, an umpire-led throw.
Oh, he was probably about to answer my question. I was going to say, so I guess that kind of takes away the want to get the ball out of bounds.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, if you're like a soccer player or a basketball player or even a football player not a football player, but a basketball player, they'll try to bounce it off the leg. But if it was a 50-50 chance, then it'd be less, especially if you're playing against like a LeBron James or somebody that can really get
LeBron James,
or soccer, or if you try to knock it out off of somebody, then it's going to go back to y'all, or it's the team. But
Right.
this is a 50-50, so it seems like it prevents you from wanting to go out because the odds are, like, especially if you're down, chances are you might not get it, and it might make it even worse.
Right.
So I kind of like that. I really like that, actually.
Throwing. It's a real weird part of the game, and it's something that amused me when I first started watching this great sport. Now, tackling is one of the best parts. It's a very physical style of game. And if you're familiar, like I am, in the north of England, rugby league.
Oh, he's British.
Tackling is one of the iconic parts of it. It's what we all enjoy doing as kids. Tackling is permitted.
I guess I
It's
could
gotta
have
be
told
between
by
the
his
shoulders
accent.
and above the knees. And you'll hear the crowd, if you watch the game, scream ball. And what they're trying to do is request the holding the ball rule, which means every time a player is tackled, they are given enough time to dispose of that ball. They must release the ball either via legal handball or a kick. And if they don't have the opportunity, it's called paying holding the ball.
Ouch.
Or you'll hear no prior, which means you're tackled before you have the opportunity to release it. We also have wonderful moments like bumps and shepherds off the ball. A shepherd is where a player effectively bumps or uses his shoulder to shoulder to protect another ball carrier from a tackle. And obviously the bumps you'll see quite often in a thing we have called taggers. Now, taggers will remind you of players like Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane. Enforcers, they stop the good players playing and they look to stifle the opposition with
It just
bumps
looks so
off the ball
painful.
and intimidation tactics. Now, our wonderful AFL season over here is played over 22 fabulous games, with the top 8 making up the finals. And if we look at
Fabulous
it, the top
games.
8 can be one of the most confusing things in the world. But as you can see here with this graph, the top 4 go into what is called a qualifying final, where first and second place will be at home and fourth and third will be away in that contest. And the losers of them games will go into what's called a semi-final, and they will be playing 5, 6, 7 and 8. 5 and 6 playing an elimination final. It's a knockout
That is
style
confusing.
type event.
Yeah.
And the winner of that gets to play the loser of these qualifying finals, and then the winner of that.
So I gotta look at that. Okay, so these two will play, obviously, and then these two will play. I can't really read that. Quarterfinals 1, and then elimination final. So whoever loses here is gone. I'm assuming that's actually. So QF2. So if you lose this, you go down here and play the person that won elimination round here.
So there's eight teams total. Okay.
that go to the playoffs.
Right. So team 1 and 4 play, team 2 and 3 play, team 5 and 8, 6 and 7.
So the top 4 play here, and then the bottom 4 play here. And then whoever wins here plays who loses up here.
We're probably so off.
Well, I mean, it's just simple. I mean, you look at QF2, 2 versus 3. So whoever lost the QF2 comes down here and plays the winner of EF2. So whoever wins this, and whoever loses this is gone.
Right.
So now they're going to play each other. And whomever wins between these two are going to continue on to here. So the semifinal, whoever wins here goes over here to play the better team.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever wins, obviously. And
Right.
then over here, quarterfinal 2 winner, which is down here, goes and plays. This is confusing. And then whoever wins these goes and plays. Yeah, so this is just the confusing part. It's 1
Well,
versus
you've got
4
qualifying finals,
here.
elimination finals, semifinals,
goes
preliminary
here.
finals. So QF is
There,
qualifying
right
finals,
there.
EF is elimination finals.
So really, if you can be this group right here, you have the hardest time to get to
Right.
here because you're the 5th and the 8th, and you're playing the 1st and the 4th. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think it's equal. Like, it obviously you're probably not the favorite if you're down here. You're definitely the favorite if you're up here, and it just makes it even harder if you're down here to win these two.
yeah, and you're probably the favorite if you get to week 4.
Yeah, you're like, you turned it on. Like, something changed. There's something to play off in sports. Like, teams will flip a switch. You can be the worst team in the playoffs, and somehow you flip a switch and you're a different team all of a sudden. Same exact players, but somehow it works that way. So yeah, that's
Goes
really
on to
confusing, but it
whoever
makes
won
sense
the
kind of.
qualifying first and the qualifying second. Sounds quite confusing, but if you follow that graph, it should get you through. And then we're at the biggest dance of them all, 100,000 people in September at the MCG on a national day's holiday if you live here in Melbourne.
So one thing that I did learn is they play them at different times in the NFL. Because some of the comments were like, we watch the NFL. It's during the off season for the AFL. So I was like, that's kind of cool. I might look for some AFL games. Yeah. I'm not sure when the seasons are. I'm going to have to look into it. But I would legitimately like to watch some AFL. And I do have some players for us to look at in the future.
Okay.
So I would like to watch some of these games because I love sports. I just don't know how to pick a team when I'm not. Like, I'm a Titans fan because I grew up in Tennessee. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, I'm going to like Richmond or the Giants or something like that. And just, I don't want to pick the best team. Like, I don't like fans of like basketball. They're like, I just follow whoever the best player is. Right. And it's like, that's not loving your team. You got to love your team through thick and thin. They're going to lose some seasons and they're going to be awful. But that makes those wins so much more better.
Right.
Like, it just feels great when you win the championship or go and play the best team and destroy them and all those kind of things. So I don't want to just pick a team that's the best.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me anyways. Some people do that and that's fine, but that's following players. I don't believe in that.
Melbourne, we all got the day off to watch it. You grab yourself a barbecue, grab yourself a nice cool beer, and you sit down and you cheer on your team or whoever you've adopted that day and cheer them on to glory. But it's not just team glory that we have in the AFL. Whoever finishes top of the ladder wins what's called the minor premiership, and it's not really that important. No one really talks about it. It's kind of just you've got the first qualifying final. We also have the Brownlow medal though, and that is a bit like our FIFA Player of the Year. And it's a very interesting way it's done. It's voted by the umpires on the ground that day.
That was an awkward hug. Yeah. They were about to kiss.
Top 3 players on the ground. And it's called the best and fairest. And if you get suspended throughout the year, you forfeit your right to win the vote. It's a very tough competition to win, and only the cream rise to the top there. We have a Coleman medal for the leading goal kicker, and the leading goal kicker over here can range anywhere from 60 to 100 goals a year.
I kind of like the medal idea.
I like that every team gets together to do that.
Yeah.
January the 1st that year.
Or I assume every team gets together to do that.
Less games at the start of that calendar year. But for me, the greatest thing about this game of footy isn't the game itself. It isn't the marks. It isn't the spectacular, wonderful goals and virtuoso goals. But it's about the fans. It's about the cheer squad who use their spare time to make wonderful banners for the players to go run through at the start of the game. The noise they make, the chants they make. It's the rivalries that make up this game, and it's a friendly rivalry. Unlike the vicious rivalries we have in soccer in the UK, it's banter and it's fun, and it's not death at all costs. It's retaining the equal passion for both sides and the love of the game.
That's
and
dope.
It's about how spiritual this game is, how we remember our indigenous forefathers for allowing us to play this great game on the great grounds that the land is represented on. It's the community rounds we have, the indigenous round, the wonderful Guernseys, the wonderful dances we have at the start of the game.
I'm guessing that's the indigenous people.
The whole nation together. The whole nation stops March to September to watch this great thing for me. But perhaps I'll save the best for the last. The iconic team song. The most iconic things in soccer are watching at Anfield singing You Never Walk Alone. It's a wonderful sight. But there's nothing so charismatic, I think, but seeing 22 blokes after they've won gather in the changing rooms to sing their famous song. And it is a
Look at the difference in size.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Sight.
It's so awesome.
This is the wonderful game of AFL footy, the greatest game in the world. Welcome to a sport that combines not only the ferociousness.
That was dirty.
The silky skills of soccer,
bitch.
The theatre of wrestling.
I didn't want to say that, but I hate that.
All done with
hitting somebody in the back of their head.
This is AFL, and this is sport, and it's
like if that's legal, I'm cool with that.
That's dope. That's I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
I like it. I think it's going to be really, really something to get into. That
was a lot of info.
I I'll probably look up to see the schedule or when the season is. But if y'all want to let me know down in the comments, I definitely would love to see that stuff. Also, let me know about. Give me some links to videos. I'd prefer them not be actually AFL because there's a lot of copyright issues with that kind of stuff. But I think I can get into this like big time because I love the NFL. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love all sports, really. I can't, no offense to anybody that's watching that loves soccer. I've tried. I really tried. I can't do it. It's too, the speed of the game is fast, yes, but the scoring's really low. Any sport that ends in a 0-0, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I cannot do
I could see myself getting super into this. So I'd definitely be interested in watching some games live and things like that too.
Yeah. And I'm curious if there's I know for a fact because I've watched some reactions of rugby players from Australia and New Zealand watching NFL stuff, and that they go out and actually there's smaller leagues. Yeah. In Australia and in New Zealand as well. Again, I'm not trying to lump y'all together. It's a part of the world that I really enjoy as far as their reactions and stuff like that. And some of them have tried to get into the punting side of things, and so they go to their local leagues and punt for them. Yeah. Which obviously not everybody can do that. There's a lot of other positions to play. Right. Nowhere near as many as this sport. Yeah, because we got 11 on each side, offense, defense, but they're very different players, sizes, and all that. I love the fact that I kind of hate the fact that I don't live there because it may have been a sport I could have gotten into because in high school and college football and stuff like that, I was too small. Right. And I mean by height wise and stuff like that because I was never really a tiny person. I just was too short.
Would have been a good nose guard.
Yeah. So let us know down in the comments. If we said something stupid, apologize. So with that being said,
my name's Miles.
And my name is Fez.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Peace
out.